Have you ever wondered what it was like when two different kinds of humans met for the very first time? Imagine this. Tens of thousands of years ago, your ancestors, Homo sapiens, are venturing out of Africa. They're explorers, pioneers, pushing into new, unknown lands. And then, one day, they see them. Another group of people, strong, stocky, with pronounced brows, perfectly adapted to the cold European landscape. These were the Neanderthals. This wasn't a clash of civilizations like we see in history books. It was something far more intimate and profound, a moment that would forever alter the human story. What happened in that first encounter? Was it fear? Curiosity? Was there a silent standoff? A cautious exchange of glances across a river valley? The archaeological record doesn't give us a screenplay, but it gives us incredible clues. And what those clues tell us is a story, not just of competition, but of connection. Let's set the scene. For hundreds of thousands of years, Neanderthals were the undisputed rulers of Eurasia. From the Iberian Peninsula to the icy plains of Siberia, they thrived. They were master hunters, capable of taking down mammoths and woolly rhinos. They crafted sophisticated stone tools, controlled fire, cared for their sick and elderly, and likely had some form of language. They weren't the brutish cavemen of old cartoons. They were intelligent, resourceful, and deeply familiar with their world. Then, around 60,000 years ago, a new group arrived. Our ancestors, Homo sapiens, were lankier, perhaps less physically powerful, but we had a different kind of toolkit. We were forming larger social networks, creating symbolic art, and our technology was rapidly evolving. We were the newcomers, the immigrants, stepping into a land that had been home to our cousins for millennia. So, when these two long-lost branches of the human family finally met, what happened? For a long time, scientists believed it was a simple, brutal story. We arrived, we outcompeted them, and they vanished. But the truth, revealed by the incredible power of modern genetics, is so much more fascinating. We didn't just replace them. We met them. We lived alongside them. And we had children with them. That's right. Inside the DNA of almost everyone living outside of Africa today is a small but significant percentage of Neanderthal DNA, typically between 1 to 2%. This isn't an accident or a statistical fluke. It's the genetic ghosts of ancient encounters. A literal family heirloom passed down through thousands of generations. This genetic exchange wasn't a one-time event. It happened multiple times in different places as our populations overlapped. Think about what that means. It means that at some point, a Homo sapiens individual and a Neanderthal individual saw each other not as alien, not as other, but as partners. They shared a meal, a fireside, and they started a family. Their children, hybrids of a sort, were raised, grew up, and had children of their own, successfully weaving Neanderthal genes into the expanding human population. This is one of the most profound discoveries about our own evolution. We are, in a very real sense, the descendants of this incredible merger. But what did this interbreeding give us? Was it just a random side effect of proximity? Not at all. It turns out this genetic inheritance was a crucial evolutionary shortcut. As our ancestors moved into the colder, darker climates of Europe and Asia, they faced new challenges, new diseases, different levels of sunlight, and a new diet. The Neanderthals had been adapting to these conditions for over 300,000 years. Their genes were a treasure trove of survival solutions. By interbreeding, Homo sapiens quickly acquired genes that bolstered our immune systems, helping us fight off local pathogens. We inherited genes related to skin pigmentation and hair, which likely helped us adapt to lower levels of UV radiation in northern latitudes. This genetic boost would have been a significant advantage, allowing our ancestors to thrive and spread more rapidly across the globe. It was like being given a survival guide written over hundreds of millennia. But the interaction wasn't just genetic. We also find fascinating evidence of cultural exchange. In some archaeological sites, we see a blending of tool-making technologies. For a time, some Neanderthal groups started making more slender, blade-like tools, similar to those made by Homo sapiens. At the same time, some early modern humans in Europe adopted certain Neanderthal tool-making techniques. This suggests they were watching each other, learning from each other, and perhaps even trading. Imagine a trading post 45,000 years ago. Not for gold or spices, but for high-quality flint. Expertly crafted spear points, or perhaps even no-lay information about the best hunting grounds or where to find edible plants during a harsh winter. This exchange of ideas and goods shows a level of mutual respect and complex interaction that completely shatters the old us versus them narrative. They weren't just rivals, they were neighbors, and at times, collaborators. So why, if we coexisted and even interbred, are Neanderthals no longer with us? This is one of the biggest mysteries in human evolution, and there's no single, easy answer. Their extinction was likely a slow, complex process driven by multiple factors. The climate was becoming increasingly unstable, and the large game they relied on was dwindling. Homo sapiens, with our larger social networks, and perhaps more versatile technology, may have been better equipped to handle these rapid changes. Our populations were growing, while the Neanderthal population was always relatively small and fragmented. It's possible we simply outcompeted them for resources, slowly squeezing them into smaller and more isolated territories. It wasn't a war, but a demographic tide they couldn't withstand. In the end, they weren't violently wiped out. They were likely absorbed. The last Neanderthal populations faded away, but their genetic legacy didn't disappear. It lives on in us. Every time you get sick and your immune system kicks in, you might be thanking a Neanderthal ancestor. Every look in the mirror is a look at a descendant of that momentous meeting on the plains of ancient Eurasia. The story of humans and Neanderthals isn't one of conquests. It's a story of family, a story of two different ways of being human, whose paths crossed for a brief but world-changing moment in deep time, creating the beautifully complex and resilient species we are today. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey back in time. If you found this story as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button. Subscribe for more adventures into our shared past, and let me know in the comments what you think happened when humans first met Neanderthals. See you next time.